All right, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this year's last Digivisio webinar in English. My name is Siiri Nousiainen, and I will be the host of this webinar today. Our program for the next hour or so looks like this. First, our program manager Sakari Heikkilä will tell us about the preliminary study on knowledge-based management in higher education institutions. And after that, we will hear about user understanding in the development of the continuous and flexible learning tray and see a small introduction to the prototype of the service by product manager Marko Taipale. After that, we will have time for questions and answers. And please use the Q&A functionality in Zoom. You can ask questions throughout the webinar. We will answer them in written form or out loud here. But without further ado, I'll give the floor to Sakari. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Siiri. And good afternoon on my behalf as well. Great to be here today. So my topic today is this preliminary study on knowledge-based management that we have done in Digivisio. This is a preliminary study that we started the project in February this year. It included a survey and interviews with all the Finnish higher education institutions, and we finished the project in the third quarter of this year. And we did this survey in cooperation with CSC, where we had specialists who helped us to conduct the survey and the study. So what is this study about? The roots of this study and why we actually did it are in one of the promises that we made in the Digivisio project plan early, even before the project office was up and running. So one of the goals is that we will help make higher education institutions into open communities with knowledge-based management. This is not to say that higher education institutions would not be at the moment already based on knowledge management, but of course our services will bring new data and opportunities to higher education institutions, and the aim is that we also help the institutions in making use of this new data and help them to develop their own services with the data that we can provide. So what we did in this preliminary study is that we analyzed the expectations related to knowledge-based management in the higher education institutions, especially regarding the opportunities that our services will bring to the institutions, and especially the flexible learning tray. We also asked the institutions to give an update on how their knowledge-based management, how that works at the moment in their institution. This is important information for us because it also influences the kind of services that we will provide, and it influences the data that we will provide to the institutions. So we want to know a little bit about the tools that the institutions use and how this this knowledge-based management is organized in the institutions. We also very briefly looked into the environment, the operating environment related to knowledge-based management. For example, what kind of data the Ministry of Education and Culture actually kind of demands in terms of reporting from the institutions, but also what kind of information they can provide to the higher education institutions. So this preliminary study that we made, like I mentioned, we had a survey for all the institutions. And out of the 38 institutions, 33 actually took part in it. So it was a very good, it gave us a very good view of what kind of expectations the institutions have. We also had group interviews, and almost all of those 33 institutions also took part in these group interviews, where we made a more thorough and more deep questions about their expectations and their current state of knowledge management. The aim of the study was to really concentrate on the continuous and flexible learning tray and the opportunities that it will provide. So, for example, the institutions make use of about a lot of data, for example, financial data, but this is not included in our scope, so we left that out. So it's everything that has to do with the continuous and flexible learning tray. In the preliminary investigation phase, we really hadn't made kind of concepts of the functionalities of what the tray could provide. So the answers provided by the institutions are more what they would like to have than actually kind of evaluating different services that we could provide. There were also no costs involved in the different services that the institutions could kind of ask from us. So there was no price tag on the services that we would provide. So in that sense, we need to dig deeper into that when we go forward. Issues and possible challenges related to data protection were left out of this survey. We have a data protection impact assessment going on, and that will also cover this knowledge management issues. So we left that knowingly out of the scope of this survey. And the focus was mostly on the knowledge-based management in the higher education institutions, and not so much on the learner's perspective. The data that the continuous and flexible learning tray will provide, obviously the same data can be useful for the institution as well as the learner, the student. But in this survey, the focus was solely on the institutions. So this is the plan for the gradual development of the service that we have. This has been updated slightly a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, I didn't have it in English yet, but in principle, that doesn't really have an effect. The only reason I put up this photo or this slide is kind of to show you that as we start with these technical release components, starting from 1 and going up until 3 is the current state that we are aiming at. The possibilities and opportunities for knowledge-based management will increase release by release. The first one we have coming out early next year. It will have a rather limited scope and limited functionalities, but already we can gather data about the offering that the higher education institutions provide, and that is of interest to the institutions in general. But obviously, the opportunities the data provides increase as we go forward from release 1 to release 3. So here's a quick summary of some of the key findings that we found out in this preliminary study. So first of all, in relation to how knowledge management is organized in the institutions at the moment, and who are the key users of data, the institutions replied that it's mostly the senior management and other management in the institutions. Generally, the information is shared among these roles, and the analysis of the data is very often related to funding, funding indicators and other indicators that the institutions find important. So kind of key performance indicators. Quality assurance is also one of the functionalities in the organizations that uses this type of data. The next most frequently mentioned use case was analytics related to learning and monitoring of studies. And the audience for this kind of data would also include teachers and, for example, the support functions for teaching, as well as students. Excel and Power BI were the most common tools used in institutions to dig into the data that they have, but also they used other tools. Some had even developed their own tools for using for analyzing data that they have. So what type of functions the institution would like to have? All the institutions wanted to have the raw data from the continuous and flexible learning tray. So since they have their own systems, be that Excel or Power BI or whatever, they would like to have the raw data and put it into their systems and kind of dig into the data in their own tools. All the institutions felt that this kind of comparative data between higher education institutions was beneficial and interesting. So this was hardly a surprise. The institutions always are looking for comparing each other against each other. Obviously, that's something that's interesting for them. The greatest needs focused on the analytics related to the studies themselves. What type of studies are of interest for the learner? So if the learner comes to the tray, what type of content are they looking for? What type of courses or other learning opportunities they are looking for? So that was very interesting for the institutions. Rather surprisingly, at least to me, was that the institutions were not really interested in gathering student feedback via this flexible learning tray. Obviously, one reason might be that all the institutions already have up and running student feedback systems, so maybe they see this as a kind of a double service, so they're not interested. On the other hand, the tray could possibly work as a place for the students to give feedback as well, but that obviously wasn't really interesting for the institutions. So what type of use cases were identified based on the survey? So obviously, development of teaching provision and contents. This was something that could highly benefit from the data that we could provide. Then monitoring and supporting the learners' kind of learning life cycle, how the learners get through their studies, how the institutions could use the data to support and guide the students, how could the institutions prevent dropouts, for example, and make the learning path more easy for the student. Then obviously kind of developing the institution's own operations, foresight and long-term scenarios based on the data that the tray could provide. The data could also be used for sales and marketing of studies. Then, for example, the higher education institutions profiling. So maybe the data could kind of be strategic in the sense that institutions could find their or kind of focus their profile more based on the information that they get. Then continuous learning, obviously, the came up. In the area of continuous learning, the data can be used more flexibly to into the planning of the study offering that the institutions provide. For example, in the degree studies, the degrees are the studies within the degree cannot be changed as flexibly as in continuous learning, where institutions could rather quickly and easily bring new offerings and kind of change their offering based on the data that they could get from the tray. Then some more observations from the report. Kind of to summarize, so the higher education institutions use internal knowledge-based management in different organizational levels. Our aim, of course, is to kind of even increase the levels and the audience for the data within the institutions. The institutions at the moment have very different bases for knowledge-based management and the utilization of data. In the survey, we found out that in roughly 1/3 of the institutions, there is a separate unit, which job description is more or less to kind of work with the data that they're provided and help this knowledge-based management within the organization. But that's only 1/3 of the institutions. The institutions all want to move towards more proactive analytics and understand the reasons, the motivations behind the learners' choices. So kind of the institutions want to get, so to say, into the learners' heads and kind of understand them better, not just react to what they are doing. The data platform should primarily focus on the new data provided by the continuous and flexible learning tray. So we want to focus on that and kind of leave out various other data that might be of use or are of use to the institutions, but are not in our scope. And some more observations. So we are expected to produce the raw data, as mentioned before. All the institutions want the raw data, so we need to have these machine readable bidirectional interfaces. So they are of great importance, and we will take this into consideration when we go forward with the technical development. These kind of comparisons and time series analysis are important, and that's something that we need to provide. And in some cases, data analysis on the data platform and sharing refined data from the interface. So even though the raw data is of most importance to the institutions, they also would like to have some kind of dashboards or quick analysis that they could have actually directly from the platform. So the learner's behavior on the continuous and flexible learning trays is very interesting, and that's the kind of the new thing that we can provide is insight on what the learners are looking for. And then one more thing I would like to highlight from this slide is the learner's personal data. So even though we left out the data protection focus from this study, it came up in the interviews, for example. And one important takeaway was that the institutions don't necessarily need to have the learner's personal data when they are doing this data analysis and looking at the data from the learning tray. These kind of shadow profiles may be sufficient for the institutions. They don't need to know the students or the learner's name and birth date when they are looking at the data. They can make use of the data without this personal information as well. And then some principles that we came up with, that we went through with the steering group of this program. So what we want to do in the future is develop the knowledge-based management from the user's perspective. So we want to actually interview and gather information from the end users of the data, what they find useful, and what kind of services they would like to have from the flexible and continuous learning tray. The sharing of data through interfaces will be one thing that we will take forward and into the technical development. And then promoting a common data model. This is very challenging, but in order for the institutions to make use of the data, we need to at least drive towards a common data model as much as possible. And then the last point, which I've mentioned already, is to keep the focus on the continuous and flexible learning tray and the opportunities that it provides, and really focus on that data and not solve all the challenges related to knowledge-based management within the institutions. So here was my quick recap of the findings from this preliminary study, and we'll take these ideas from the institutions into the technical development, and probably we'll have some more information on this topic later on when we go forward. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Sakari. And if you have any questions for Sakari, please use the Q&A functionality and we can answer your questions throughout the webinar. Next, I will give the floor to Marko. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm just starting sharing here. Okay, just move that a bit there. Great. Hey, my name is Marko Taipale. I'm the product manager for continuous and flexible learning tray, and I'm here to present a bit of user insight and also the prototype of the service, so that you get more concrete understanding what we are building here. So basically, whenever I want to explain the kind of concept that we are having, I want to start with what are the problems that we want to solve for the users, and then what are the opportunities that we see within. So let's start from the learner's point of view. So if you think about today's continuous learners, they find their situation quite challenging. They are sitting in front of their laptop and wondering what is the thing that they want to learn next more about, and when they know that, they start Googling around and they will get a lot of different options presented to them, and still they're wondering if this is a suitable kind of learning experience for them that they would like to pick up on. Taking into consideration that they have their, as in this picture, they have their kids around and it's getting late, and it's kind of hard for them to understand the structure of the different options that they are presented, and is it even something that is fitting with their situation. So just to put it in a nutshell, the problems that we want to address, and these problems are based on the insight that we have built with the real users, so the learners, and also we've discussed different topics regarding this with the higher education institutions, and this kind of collection of those in one slide. So for the learners, as I just presented in the picture, it's hard for them to find suitable learning opportunities. They spend quite a bit of time and energy browsing through the different options, and as some of them presented to us, that I have here 20 browser windows open for 3 days to try and to understand the different higher education institution offering and making sure that this is something for me. And even they find something interesting as an opportunity, since the enrollments are time boxed, and the sign-ups are something that they may forget. So that creates yet another problem for the learners. And we also found out that many learners will quit the course later on because they feel that they've been either misinformed about the course or whatever is the opportunity that they took, or they find that they actually gain the knowledge and they're not very interested on pursuing more towards the certification or anything like that. So we also found both kind of different levels of engagement that the learners want to have, and also that sometimes they feel that the descriptions or things, when they were comparing different options, they were somehow misled. Then from the higher education institution point of view, of course, nobody wants to lose the learner to another institute or just somewhere. The just somewhere option, meaning that the learner thinks that he or she might get the information just looking at YouTube videos or getting to a LinkedIn Learning or some other service provider who is somewhat giving the similar kind of description of the things that they are providing. And currently the higher education institution don't know how similar offering is received by the market of learners. Just so kind of feeding back to what Sakari was presenting, that institutions are very curious about how the offerings of other institutes is received by the learners. And nowadays, if the learners finds a course from one institute, but it's somehow unsuitable for their life and situation at hand, they don't get any suggestions that, hey, this similar kind of thing is available from some other institute, unless they just by kind of accident get to know that there's such an opportunity. I have here some quotes from the users, so but I kind of referred already to them, so that what are the typical kind of quotes that we gain through our insight from the users. So the solution is about bringing all the different learning offerings to one place, and by doing that, helping the learners to find suitable opportunities. And this is, of course, the solution that we are here trying to build, and this is the solution that I'm going to demonstrate next. Basically, the ask from the learners is that, hey, could you just have one place where I could like browse through the different offerings, and also where I can really compare them in informed manner, and then eventually actually decide what is something that is suitable for me. And of course, if I want to, or if I'm somehow preferring one institute, then I can dig deeper to their offering and look and filter out probably just something from them specifically, if that's an important criteria for me as a learner. So instead of going through more slides, I'm gonna show you the actual prototype, so you get more the concrete picture of the actual service. So since the service itself, even the prototype hasn't been translated, I'm gonna use the finished prototype, but I'm gonna try to explain what I'm going through at every step, so you have a kind of picture in your head, at least, that what we are building. So this is the learner's view to the service. So it starts with basically just the search field where you can try to find with the keywords that what are the different offerings that I might find from this service. Then we have different themes like circular economy or AI or virtual reality or the global warming. So we have different themes that are presented to the users, so that if they don't have a certain kind of keyword in mind, they might just to get to know about the different themes that we have offering in this service. These are just example themes. These are not set in stone by any means. This is something that we are discussing and designing with the pilot institutions right now. Then we have a skill-based approach, so that you have you're thinking that there's a certain skill that you want to develop further, so you can just start from there. And then we have mega trends. So since they are known, we have ways of browsing through those mega trends, at what are the different offerings available. By the way, just the skill-based and these mega trends are something that we haven't yet validated with the real users. So the actual theme-based and the keyword searching are something that they are keen on and want to have, and for different use cases. But since I'm just showing you the actual prototype that we are about to validate right now, and this is why you can actually already see something that the learners haven't seen yet. Then we have different formats of learning. So as we have in this offering, we can have podcasts, webinars, and so forth. So the learner can kind of paint a picture that what is available in which format in this under this service, and there's the amounts of different offerings. These are just preliminary. They are not based on anything yet, but they're just for visualizing the fact that we could show that to the users. And then this more like kind of taking from streaming services, that they have these type of where you can kind of just browse through and look at these kind of offering cards that, okay, and these are, of course, we are not yet there that we could tell that, okay, this is the criteria that these are popping up. Why exactly this offering is shown to the user, and why in this order, and so forth. These are the things that we are designing together, both taking the learner's point of view into account, but also the institution's point of view into account, that what is suitable. But anyhow, we have kind of in this prototype kind of demonstrated that this is something that we are thinking through. And here the last one is about these offerings are now something that you can enroll into. So that's why they are presented here, and they are in the currently the thinking is that they would be in the order that this is expiring first. And then if the user wants, then or the learner wants, they want to kind of just straight go to that, okay, I want to know about this or that institution offering. You could just click there and get to the next page that I'm going to show you next. So no matter how we go, eventually we will end up with some kind of search results, or results that the user can browse through. This is an example of the results of a search, and here we have different types of filterings, and these filters have already been validated with the users, so we know what they want to filter these results, what are the factors that they want to use for that. And then we present then the real question, of course, is once again, what's the order, what are the factors that is based on, and that's something, as I already described, that we haven't yet decided. But anyhow, we basically demonstrating here that we have different ways of showing different types of results. Like here's the first result is a course, but then this one is like a thing containing multiple parts, like kind of modules. So how could we visualize it so that the learner can actually understand that this is consisting of multiple parts? Then how about if the megatrend somehow is part of the results or theme? So we're basically helping the user to understand different types of results. And if I just dig deeper, so I pick the first one. So this is like a page for individual offering. So we are presenting here the things in such a manner that is based on our insight from the learners. So for instance, they told us that one of the key things that they want to understand is that what this learning opportunity requires from me. So this is now one of the headlines right there here. Or what is the thing that I have learned once I've done this? That's also presented here. And currently we have a hypothesis that these are kind of, once again, kind of a keywords that you could then click and learn more. Okay, what are the other things that are actually involved in this, or part of that similar kind of end result? And then you can enroll, or you can just pick to your own kind of wish list or kind of thing where you want to compare different types of opportunities. And then we have like even thought about that, okay, how we could present the different events of this, or for instance, this course, that this is how it actually goes in with the schedule, and you could even bring that to your own calendar straight from here from the service. But this is something that we need to dig deeper, since it may be that we don't have this information in the system so that we could actually present it here. But as said, it's a prototype. This is how we would like it to be, based on the insights that we have. Then I'll just briefly show you one more thing that I want to show you from here is that, or tell you about, is that now this is for not signed in user, so learner. So once they would sign in, then we would use the historical data about his or her behavior in this service to make recommendations. But that's of course for further development, like in the later phases, later versions of the service. Then we have, in order for us to actually have this offering, we of course need to enter that to the service. So here's the institution user perspective. So this Mikko is from Oulu University or University of Oulu, and he's about to add more offering to the tray. And so currently our thinking is that Mikko starts from adding either a podcast or an event from here. So this is very informal kind of learning opportunities that we are talking in the first phase. And later on, the actual formal will become from our integrations through Sisu and Peppi and so on. So of course, that is something that is not entered by manually. But just to give you an example that, okay, I start entering a podcast to the service and adding the information about it so that it is presented to the user or the learner. And of course, I don't need to publish straight away. I can just save it for later. And at some point, I have like a list of these different offerings that are done by me or within my institution. But that's the prototype from the basic functionality. Then we have other functionalities like how do we manage the university personal kind of their usage, their rights or permissions and the roles within this service. And then of course we have kind of some thoughts about how could we present dashboards if this is something based on the Sakari's presentation, that if there would be dashboards in this service, that you could actually take a look at reports and analytics straight in here and see how your offering is actually getting received by the learners. So that was my part. I thank you and expecting to hear and see some questions later on.
Perfect. Thank you, Marko. And right now, I can't see any questions in the Q&A box, but you still have time. If you want to ask something from Marko or Sakari, please write your questions down now. Now I will use the opportunity to tell you more about our plans for next year's webinars. We will organize 3 Digivisio webinars in English next year. So the first one is in March, and the second one is in August, and the last is in November. You can find all of these in our website in digivisio2030.com/events. And remember to sign up for our newsletter. Our newsletter is published 4 times a year. It's in English, and so you can have all the latest news about the program straight to your email. And you can also follow us in social media. We're in Twitter and LinkedIn, so make sure you follow us, and let's have a good conversation also in social media. All right, thank you. Still, there are no questions at the Q&A box. I think we're done for today. You can always contact us at digivisio@tsc.fi. If you have any questions, you can send us an email also. I will now give all happy holidays and have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next year. Thank you for coming today. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.